and the villainous female supporting character. The second male lead chose to sacrifice himself by marrying me, all to preserve the flawless image of the female lead in his heart. Yet, after marriage, far from restraining myself, I only grew worse. After being harshly rejected by the male lead, once again, I saw a comment float across the screen. This supporting female character is really too much. Is it fun to keep pestering the male lead? Just turn around and look at your husband. His heart is breaking. When will the female supporting character realize that the second male lead is the one willing to stay with you till death? One speaking of which, my marriage with Ethan White is rather laughable. By the time I realized I was a character in the story, the plot had already reached its final act. The male and female leads finally became a couple, while I, the fake socialite who had done all sorts of evil deeds, was finally exposed for my schemes and driven out of the house. The story should have had a perfect ending here, but I couldn't accept it. All those sycophants who once flattered me now laughed at me, the imposter, for foolishly dreaming for 10 years without even getting a single strand of the male lead's hair. I was desperate to confront the male lead for an explanation, but I couldn't even catch a glimpse of him. In the pouring rain, my vision kept blurring. That was when Ethan White approached me. Marry me. The man across from me wore a white shirt, delivering this proposal without blinking, his tone as casual as if he were ordering coffee. Why, before this moment, our paths had never crossed. As the male lead's rival in this story, he shouldn't have had any connection with a supporting female character like me. He lowered his eyes, his thick black lashes casting small shadows beneath them. I like Sophia Miller, you like Caleb Reed. Our marriage would be like an alliance. You can use it to see if he truly cares for you. Besides, it seems you're already homeless. His words left me no room for refusal. After my identity was exposed, the Shao family only let me take my clothes, some bags, and jewelry. All the money in my bank accounts was frozen. I was already at the point of being left out on the streets, and so just like that I stumbled into marriage. We didn't hold a wedding ceremony, and news of our marriage only reached the male and female leads like gossip. Yet they showed no reaction whatsoever. It seemed our hopes had been dashed. Ethan still honored his promise and let me move into his home. A modest one-bedroom apartment, simply furnished. If those basic furnishings and flooring could even be considered decoration. He gave the bedroom to me. After all, with so many clothes, I needed several wardrobes just to fit them all. The Hale family hosted a charity banquet, and I heard Caleb would be attending. Upon learning this news, I specifically dug out an unworn evening gown from my closet and applied meticulous makeup before heading to the event. I shouldn't have had any chance to appear at such an occasion, but my former best friend secretly slipped me an invitation. I knew she just wanted to see me make a fool of myself, but I was confident Caleb wouldn't treat me that way. As long as I appeared before him in person, he couldn't remain unmoved. So I entered the venue in high spirits, only to circle around and see Sophia clinging to him intimately, while everyone around praised them as a match made in heaven. Before long, someone noticed me. Oh, this our dear Miss Vivian. That outfit looks quite nice today. Where did you rent it from? The onlookers burst into laughter. Only Caleb didn't join in. He stared at me intently. I knew Caleb wouldn't forget me, but his next words sent me plunging into an icy abyss. Vivian, this place for you. His eyes brimmed with profound disappointment as he spoke, as if my presence had greatly displeased him. Onlookers continued to fan the flames. Caleb, you don't know Vivian still pines for you even after getting married. Upon hearing about my marriage, Caleb's brows indeed furrowed, but before I could rejoice for more than a few seconds, he spoke again. Since you're married, now live your own life and stop bothering us. Those words acted like a signal. Within 2 minutes, someone accidentally spilled a glass of red wine as they passed by me. The pure white hem of my dress was soaked through with wine, and shards of broken glass cut into the tops of my feet. Oh, I'm so sorry I didn't see you there. Here is some money for your dry cleaning. Chloe, who used to be my follower, casually pulled out a few bills from her bag and scattered them in front of me like a queen, her expression dripping with disdain. Of course I wasn't about to take that insult lying down, so I raised my hand and slapped her across the face. But I forgot that the venue had security. Soon 2 guards grabbed my arms. Chloe's gaze was icy and venomous as she stared at me, clearly weighing how best to retaliate. The force behind me held me immobilized, leaving me no choice but to endure passively. Resigned, I closed my eyes, but the expected pain never came. Let her go, I seemed to hear Ethan's voice. Then the grip on my arm loosened, and I was pulled into a warm embrace. It wasn't an illusion. Ethan had arrived in a hurry, speaking no unnecessary words, as he simply draped his coat over my shoulders. Then he took my hand and pulled me outside. Ethan, Sophia's voice came at just the right moment, having arrived unnoticed, successfully making Ethan pause. Mid-step, I heard you got married. Congratulations on your wedding. Actually, you didn't have to go this far for my sake. Her words were veiled, but I understood exactly what she meant. Ethan married me just to fulfill Sophia's wishes. Suddenly, I felt inexplicably dizzy. When I woke up again, I was already back home. Floating text appeared before my eyes. The second male lead is so handsome, protecting his wife with such dominance. Though the female supporting character is foolish, she's undeniably beautiful. Sweetheart, I beg you, stop pestering the male lead. Living well with the second male lead is what truly matters. Vivian, turn around quickly. This is the man who's willing to die for you. What on earth is going on? I tried to sit up for a better look, only to find my feet firmly held in place, completely immobilized. The comments kept pouring in. Second male lead really makes me cry. Kneeling to apply medicine for his wife is just too handsome. Following the suggestion, I looked down. Ethan was kneeling on one knee beside my feet, an open first aid kit at his side. He was applying iodine to me with a cotton swab when he noticed me moving and spoke up. Don't move, it might hurt a little, but it'll be over soon. For some reason the spot where he held me felt warm. I gripped the sheets trying to calm these flutters when a comment suddenly caught my eye. What are you all getting so excited about? The second male lead belongs to our female lead. Anyone who has read the earlier parts knows Vivian is crazy. The second male lead only married her to protect the female lead from harm. Really, I had the same doubt in my heart, so I voiced it. Why did you show up there today? His hands paused while applying the medicine, and I vaguely guessed the answer. It's because of Sophia, isn't it? He lowered his eyes without answering. How strange, I felt somewhat displeased, even though I'd known this fact all along. I exerted some effort to pull my foot away from his grasp. Meeting Ethan's puzzled expression, I cleared my throat awkwardly. We're just in a contractual marriage, no need to keep up the act at home. For as night fell, the evening breeze carried a slight chill through the balcony. I sat at the desk and pulled out a candy box. Time had faded the once exquisite packaging to a yellowish hue, and the sweet fragrance that once filled the box was long gone. Memories were pulled back to my childhood. At age 11 that summer, I was sent to a summer camp, and because I was the youngest, the other children ganged up to bully me. At my lowest point, I hid behind a mountain and cried for an entire day. It was also during that time that I met Caleb, though I didn't know who he was back then. He gave me a box of candies and told me to stop crying. She told me that to avoid being bullied, I must first become strong myself. From that day on, I never shed another tear, and he never appeared again. So I regarded him as a guardian-like figure. Until 5 years later when I met Caleb, he also liked that flavor of candy, and he would also protect me from bullies. So I recognized Caleb at first glance as that boy from back then. Suddenly realizing the name Caleb has been called for 10 years now. I shifted my gaze from the candy box and only then noticed those words scrolling again. These self-proclaimed comment texts seem to be updating in real time. Ethan, hurry up and say this is what you gave the supporting female character. That way Vivian won't be mad anymore. Before I could even process the meaning of those words, a knock at the door interrupted me. My heart skipped a beat as I hastily put away the candy box before letting Ethan in. What could he possibly want at this hour? Ethan lifted the basin in his hands, gesturing for me to open the balcony door. The freshly changed clothes were now washed clean, swaying in the breeze on the balcony, the scent of laundry detergent drifting through the air. After hanging up the clothes, he didn't leave immediately. He remained silent for a minute before speaking with a cold expression. It's already 11, get some rest early. If you stay up past 11:30, you'll have dark circles under your eyes the next day. Strange, how did he know? I've never told him about my sleep schedule. Under the cover of night, half of Ethan's face was shrouded in darkness. Gazing at his silhouette, an inexplicable emotion suddenly flickered through my heart. It was as if I had witnessed this scene countless times before. Back when I was in school, I once financially supported a boyfriend. That was when Sophia transferred to our class. I disliked her at first sight. As the daughter of the school board chairman, without me saying a word, everyone automatically ostracized her. Only that boy, reckless and brazen, dared to be kind to her right under my nose, so I inevitably grew to hate him. That day after school, I happened to see him being chased by debt collectors. The middle-aged man leading the group looked ferocious, brandishing a knife and shouting that if the debt wasn't repaid, he'd chop off his hand. This was a rare opportunity, one thought, so even he could be brought to his knees. So I spent some money and cleared his debt for him. He was visibly shaken and uneasy, asking what I wanted him to do in return. You are not allowed to speak to Sophia or have any contact with her. You belong to me alone. A servant, a follower, or perhaps a boyfriend. I didn't know how to define his identity, but from that day on we became inseparable. No matter where I went, he would follow closely behind me. Even when Sophia cried her eyes red, he would only turn his face away indifferently. Usually at times like this my mood would improve significantly, so even though I really wanted to shake off the hand he was holding, I restrained myself. Once during a school-organized fireworks display, he pulled me aside to kiss me on the deserted rooftop. As fireworks bloomed across the sky, the first snow began to fall. Even now looking back on it still makes my face grow warm. I pressed the back of my hand against my cheek, only then noticing those comments. Vivian's face suddenly turned so red, so adorable. Ethan should come in right now and kiss her fiercely. Though I couldn't understand the meaning of the comments, I vaguely felt they weren't anything decent. I exhaled and tried to continue recalling, only to find I couldn't remember what that boy looked like at all. I didn't even remember his name. But this was quite normal. I was sent abroad before finishing school, and I never properly explained things to that boy before leaving. There wasn't much between us to begin with, and my departure probably lifted a weight off his mind. Yet now looking back, Ethan's silhouette in the darkness seemed to gradually merge with that boy's. 6 to confirm who that boy really was, I took half a day off the next day. At the desk, I turned on my computer and began searching on Google. Ethan White UCLA resume. UCLA Law School. Ethan White, which high school did he attend? The search results only showed a bunch of pot-bellied middle-aged men. I closed my computer in frustration only to see another comment. What is Vivian doing? If you want to know about your husband, just go to his room. Why ask Wikipedia? Frustrated. I'm dying of laughter. What kind of contractual marriage looks like this? It was already 9 o'clock. Ethan must have left for work, so I quietly opened his door. This is actually my first time entering his room compared to mine. It's much smaller, containing only a single bed, a small desk, and a tiny wardrobe. The white window curtains fluttered in the breeze. I pulled open the top drawer of the desk, finding only law-related books. Searching further down, I discovered only study-related notes. Just as I was about to give up, I spotted a comment. Vivian, whatever you do, don't open the bottom drawer, and absolutely don't enter your own birthday as the password. 031. When I turned the lock with a click, the combination lock sprang open. Inside were a few Polaroid photos, the two people in them, smiling sweetly. I actually took photos like this back, then flipping them over, I found I love you written on the back. Next to it was an ugly smiling emoji, but the handwriting was unmistakably mine. I even found a hairpin in the box that I'd lost long ago. After all these years, the diamonds on it still sparkled brilliantly. Something deep in my memory seemed to loosen. I clutched my chest, suddenly overwhelmed by a long-forgotten palpitation. At that moment, a message popped up on the phone. Ethan, there's food in the fridge heated up in the microwave before eating. Remember to soak the dishes in the sink. I'll wash them when I get back. Am I some kind of child? Does he really need to spell everything out for me? I was just about to text back in protest when another message arrived. Be careful with your wound. Try not to wear high heels, they might get wet. He is still so long-winded. I moved my gaze away from the phone, but couldn't he help curling my lips into a smile. 7:30 p.m. The company organized a team building event. By the time I arrived, almost everyone was already there. Only one seat remained vacant beside the boss. Amidst the crowd's teasing, I had no choice but to walk toward it. Vivian arrived the latest today. She punished herself with 3 drinks. The nearly 50-year-old boss smiled as he filled my glass to the brim, then unwaveringly pressed it to my lips. I frowned slightly, but considering his position, I still took the glass. Then I tilted my head back and downed it in one go. This little alcohol was nothing to me. But after 3 drinks, he found another excuse to make me drink more. You're the hero of this project. You should celebrate with a proper drink. Everyone's drinking. As team leader, you should drink even more. The hour hand on the wall clock advanced 2 more notches. A burning sensation rose in my stomach. I couldn't stay here any longer. So I accidentally knocked over a bowl of sauce and excused myself to the restroom. The woman in the mirror already had a flushed face and dazed eyes. I splashed handfuls of cold water violently on my face, managing to regain temporary clarity. I leaned against the wall and slowly walked out, but just around the corner, a body suddenly pressed against me from behind. I turned around in panic, only to find it was my boss who had been waiting for a long time. He groped me all over in desperation. I slapped him. It wasn't a strong slap, but it angered him. The pot-bellied man in front of me panted heavily, his thick hands tightly gripping my neck. You're really pushing your luck, aren't you? Do you actually think anyone would give you the time of day without the Shao family's backing? The grip around my neck tightened relentlessly. I clawed helplessly at the air, desperate to make any sound that might save me. Vivian, you're not going to die this easily, are you? I prayed silently that some righteous passerby might notice my plight. Just as I was about to lose consciousness, I heard someone shout, "Let her go." The man's punch landed with tremendous force. All I could hear was the sound of fist meeting flesh and the pained groans that followed. I don't know how much time passed before a hand reached out toward me. Looking up, I saw Ethan's face tight with concern. Are you okay? Are you hurt anywhere? My head was spinning and I didn't know how to respond to his words, so I just kept my head down in silence. But he suddenly lost his temper. Speak, answer me. I don't know why, but being yelled at like this made me feel incredibly sad. My lips involuntarily quivered, but I refused to back down in terms of attitude. I also shouted back at him, "Why are you being so loud?" He seemed to realize he had lost his composure, lowered his head, and sighed. "Sorry, I just wanted to make sure you're really okay." "I'm fine, no need for your concern." Yet when he heard my reply, he grew even angrier. He looked me up and down. "With your neck bruised like this and reeking of alcohol, you're telling me you're fine. That's right, my business is none of your concern." "Oh, is that so?" Ethan let out a disdainful laugh before continuing. "Then may I ask how the illustrious Miss Shao of the prominent Shao family ended up in such a state? Where's that temper of yours? Do you just obediently drink whenever someone tells you to?" True to his reputation as a top law school graduate, his words always hit the nail on the head. I stubbornly defended myself. If I don't drink with him, what will happen to my job? But in the end, I couldn't hold back and burst into tears unexpectedly. He didn't taunt me further. Instead, he came over and held me tight, whispering a very soft "I'm sorry" in my ear. The city after 11 was quiet, with only the distant skyscrapers still brightly lit. The streetlight's glow scattered sparsely through the leaves, casting dappled shadows on the asphalt road. I lay sprawled on Ethan's back as we slowly made our way home. Perhaps the dim yellow light gave me a sense of security as my mind gradually grew drowsy. People often say dreams reflect real life, so I had a dream. I dreamed that fat pig boss fired me, my bonus and annual leave all went down the drain. I murmured, "I lost my job, boo. What should I do?" Tears soaked his white shirt. Ethan stopped walking and tightened his grip under my knees. After who knows how long, he finally turned his head and said softly, "Don't be afraid, I'm here no matter what happens, I'll stay by your side." The response he received was the steady breathing of the person on his back. When I woke up in the morning, it was already 9:30 and surprisingly Ethan hadn't gone to work. What was even stranger was that I was still holding his hand. I had slept pressed against him all night in my own room. Comments started appearing at this moment. What happened last night? What content is this VIP not allowed to see? It seems it cut to black right when Ethan set Vivian's emergency contact to himself. As instructed, I picked up the phone from the nightstand. That's exactly what happened. But why? Just as I was puzzled, Ethan woke up. Seeing me looking at my phone, he let out an "oh" and explained naturally, "If something like this happens again, you can contact me with just one click." "Okay," I nodded, avoiding his gaze. "Thank you, I'm sorry." We spoke simultaneously. I was quite puzzled, yet he met my gaze and repeated word by word. I'm sorry I shouldn't have yelled at you yesterday. Even though he saved me, he still said such words, and I felt the fluttering in my heart grow stronger. The atmosphere was too quiet at the moment, and I didn't know how to respond. So I brought up a topic. By the way, why didn't you go to work today? Feeling my question was somewhat abrupt, I added. I am not concerned about you, I'm just curious, and how are we supposed to survive if both of us lose our jobs? The words left my mouth before I could stop them. As expected, the comments immediately spotted the issue. Vivian's mouth could hold up the sky. If it collapsed, keep pretending to be tough. I bit my lip secretly, yet Ethan raised an eyebrow, his usually stern eyes flickering with unexpected vitality. How can I leave when you're holding my hand so tight? Only then did I realize I was still gripping his hand. I quickly let go in fright, but the next moment, he caught it again. I took leave from the law firm, no rush to work today. Stay with me a little longer. We didn't get out of bed until noon. It was only then that I learned the reason Ethan had taken time off. His grandmother was coming. This aligns perfectly with my memories back then. Ethan incurred such a massive debt precisely to pay for his grandmother's heart surgery. Grandma has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and the doctor suggested it's best to keep her close to family. Ethan said this while carefully glancing at me, so I was thinking of bringing her to live with us. Would that be okay? I was completely baffled by his sudden question. This is his home. Why would he need to ask about having someone over? But he seemed to misunderstand me, and quickly explained. Grandma's visit won't disturb you. I'll sleep on the sofa. You can keep staying in your usual room. Sigh, what kind of image do I have in his mind? No matter how vicious I might be, I couldn't possibly push my husband's family away. I agreed readily. Let us go pick up Grandma together. 11. Grandma seemed to be in good spirits, greeting me cheerfully when she saw me. Hello, granddaughter-in-law. I turned to look at Ethan beside me carrying the luggage. He looked flustered and was about to whisper an explanation. I ignored him and directly linked my arm through his. Hello, Grandma, I said under his astonished gaze as we returned home. That evening I knocked on Ethan's door while hugging my pillow and blanket. He was packing his things and looked surprised to see me. I pursed my lips, unsure how to begin. He thought I had something on my mind. Is the pillow uncomfortable? I shook my head. Do you want to change the bedsheet? Just put it in the laundry basket and I'll wash it. I shook my head again, watching me. His expression gradually grew serious. Are you feeling unwell somewhere? He asked, putting down what he was holding and rushing toward me. I blinked my eyes, truly at a loss for words. Shall we sleep together? No, that's too embarrassing. Ethan had already crouched down to examine the wound on the top of my foot. I took a step back, but that foot remained firmly in his grasp. Actually, I could feel my face heating up again. Let's stay in your room together tonight. I blurted it out in one breath, but Ethan froze. Don't get the wrong idea, I hurriedly explained. It's not that I want to sleep with you. It's just that I think Grandma is getting older, and she'd be more comfortable sleeping alone in the big bed. And we're married, staying apart would make people suspicious. Just when I thought my explanation was perfect, the comments appeared again. Damn it, why does this thing always update when I'm making a fool of myself? Vivian finally said it. How much longer until I see your children? I'm dying. The female supporting character is as stubborn as ever. Ha 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 ha. Look at Ethan's expression. He is clearly enjoying this. I carefully observed Ethan's expression as he stared at me, a certain emotion flashing through his eyes. But the slight upturn of his lips still betrayed his true feelings. You're right, he said, suppressing a smile as he ushered me through the doorway. As night fell, only a small bedside lamp remained lit. The warm yellow glow bathed the room in a cozy ambience against the darkened backdrop. Ethan's bed wasn't actually that small, especially when I was resting my head on his arm. When I woke the next morning, the space beside me was already empty. Only the note from Ethan remained on the nightstand. I bought breakfast, remember to heat it in the microwave. Smile. This was the first time I'd seen him draw an emoticon at the end of a note. It was poorly drawn, but identical to the doodle on the back of that Polaroid from years ago. After breakfast, I planned to take Grandma to the nearby supermarket for a stroll. Ethan said he'd make braised pork belly when he gets home from work today. Grandma is very talkative and loves to chat. The whole way she kept pulling me into conversation. From Ethan's childhood embarrassments to how many scholarships he won in college. Inevitably, she brought up his first love. Oh dear, speaking of which, what I'm most satisfied with is our Ethan's first love. She's beautiful, excels academically, and has such a gentle and kind personality. Good heavens, I've never seen two people so perfectly matched before. That didn't sound like it was about me, more like they were praising Sophia. I plastered on a professional smile and led Grandma onward toward the vegetable section. As we passed by the celery area, Grandma came to a stop. Vivian loves this take more. Who exactly is this Vivian? I blurted out. I couldn't help it. I truly couldn't stand the thought of my first love and now husband having another female friend, especially when that person was the female lead I despised. Grandma laughed and said she's Ethan's first love. 13. I felt a bit angry, but the next moment my mood cleared up like sunshine after rain. Ethan said thanks to her I could afford the surgery. The memory struck me instantly. Back in school days, the cafeteria as specialty vegetable seemed to be celery. Ethan always liked dragging me to meals. Back then, watching him bring over his tray, I'd pick and choose, and what I ended up taking was probably celery. Couldn't be helped. I had a personal nutritionist, and my palate had already been spoiled. The only edible thing in this dish was that touch of green. The first. Never thought he'd remember for so long. Honestly, granddaughter-in-law, why are you suddenly smiling so brightly? It wasn't until Grandma pointed it out that I noticed my own upturned lips. When people are happy, they tend to do many strange things. For instance, right now I'm standing in the kitchen wearing an apron, gloves, and a chef's hat. Looking at the already chopped ingredients, I'm at a loss about where to begin. Ethan has been waiting outside the kitchen for quite some time. Seeing my predicament, he seems unable to suppress his amusement, laughter spilling from those mesmerizing peach blossom eyes, yet he clears his throat and says with feigned seriousness, "Maybe I should take over," but Grandma encourages from the side. Oh my, what a blessing to think I do get to eat dishes made by such a lovely granddaughter-in-law with my own hands. My confidence soared to unprecedented heights. I adjusted my gloves and got to work. After all, I learned some cooking skills back when I was chasing Caleb. I may not rival a Michelin-starred chef, but whipping up home-style dishes is absolutely within my capabilities. After working hard for an hour, this master chef finally presented my 4 dishes and 1 soup. Not bad at all, it looks delicious. Grandma praised me as usual. I picked up a plate of stir-fried celery with lily bulbs and glanced at Ethan, clearing my throat before saying, "Give it a try, this is my first time cooking. Don't overthink it, consider it. Thanks for helping me last time." Ethan picked up a bite and put it in his mouth. Within seconds, his brows furrowed tightly and his face turned bright red. I muttered to myself as I took a bite. It might not be delicious, but it shouldn't warrant that kind of reaction. Just a moment ago his mood seemed fine. Why is he making that face now? As I was puzzling over this, Ethan's face grew increasingly red, and he started coughing uncontrollably. "We need to go to the hospital," he stammered, his symptoms worsening by the second. With no other choice, I quickly settled Grandma, who was still engrossed in her drama, and rushed him to the nearest hospital. In the emergency room, Ethan was being scolded by the doctor. "You're a grown man. How could you not know you're allergic to lilies?" He nodded slightly, then quickly shook his head in denial. I couldn't help but widen my eyes. The doctor clearly noticed his lie too. The reprimand grew even fiercer, yet he listened quietly, without offering any defense. 10 minutes later, we were sitting in the infusion area of the hallway waiting for the 4 drip. Why I couldn't figure it out, but he avoided the main point. I thought just 1 bite would be fine. You know that's not what I'm asking about. While adjusting the flow rate of his 4 bottle, I looked at him seriously and said. For a moment silence fell between us. Seeing my seriousness, he had no choice but to speak. "Because I'm used to it." "Used to what?" "In the past, I always enjoyed ordering him around, treating him like a male servant I'd hired with my money." What I now arrogantly considered affection was in his eyes nothing more than domineering commands. It felt like having a bucket of cold water poured over me, instantly extinguishing my earlier bravado. I didn't even dare look at him again, only managing to murmur an apology. "I'm sorry, actually you didn't need to go this far. What happened between us years ago doesn't count anymore now. It's me who's relying on you." My voice grew even quieter as I said this, because I was admitting to all my previous presumptuous assumptions. Ethan's slightly hoarse voice spoke up again. "I know what you're thinking, Vivian." His other uninjured hand covered my right hand, his warmth transferred over to me. "I like you just as much as I did back then, and that will never change. As for the word dependence, I don't agree with it. It's not so much dependence as it is mutual need. I need your dependence, and more than that I depend on you." In the end, all I could see was the deep affection in his eyes. The comments updated at just the right moment. "Alright, I declare this the grand finale. Everyone should stop reading here. This damn ending is extremely unfriendly to my heart." "Hey upstairs, commenter, dying together still counts as a happy ending, okay?" For some reason I had a bad feeling, but no matter how much I scrolled through the comments, no one mentioned what would happen next. I suddenly remembered a comment that had flashed through my mind earlier. "Ethan is the man willing to stay with me until death." For some reason a voice inside me whispered, "As long as I stay away from everything from the past, my life will return to peace." With that thought, I deleted all contact information for Caleb and Sophia from my phone. I've deleted all those friends from my former social circle too. And the candy box in the drawer, what's past is past. As long as Ethan and I can live undisturbed, then it's all worth it. Only after completing all this did I finally exhale in relief. At dusk, the amber sunset lingered gently along the horizon, gradually sinking into the depths. I decided to take Grandma for a stroll at the small park nearby. Since Grandma moved here, she has become quite familiar with the neighbors. Hearing we were going out, she eagerly went to fetch her fan. At the park, I sat quietly on a bench watching Grandma dance in the square. As night quietly fell, I checked the time and thought about calling Grandma to head home. I looked up only to find she was no longer there. I hurriedly asked the people nearby, who all said she had just gone to the restroom. The sky was darkening, and for some reason, an unease settled in my heart. So I ran to the restroom, but she was nowhere to be seen. Just as I crouched down to catch my breath, 2 figures suddenly rushed out from the shadows. The handkerchief in that person's hand was laced with anesthetic, and before I could even cry for help, I had already lost consciousness. When I woke up again, everything before me was pitch black. My body was immobilized, and even my mouth was sealed with tape. All signs pointed to me being kidnapped. It was so cramped, and hearing the roar of the car engine, I realized I was in the trunk of a vehicle. There seemed to be someone else beside me. Just as I was about to make some noise, that person spoke. Judging by the voice, it's an old acquaintance. "We meet again, imposter." Sophia's voice was icy in the darkness. She roughly tore the tape off my mouth. I asked in confusion, "What do you want? I've already stopped interfering in your lives." Hearing this, she burst into laughter. The sound was particularly piercing in the pitch-black darkness. For a full half-minute, she finally replied, "It's precisely because you didn't interfere with us that Caleb and I ended up in this situation." She grabbed my hair, hysterically shouting, "If you're the vicious, supporting female character, you should have the self-awareness of one without a despicable imposter like you around who could possibly highlight my virtues. So you're using me to rekindle Caleb's love for you?" I asked in disbelief. "I'm just setting the plot back on its proper course," she retorted. Just watch, as long as you're by my side, everyone will choose me, Ethan included. She deliberately paused, then leaned in to whisper in my ear, her breath like a serpent hiss. You'll always be the unloved Vivian. No one in this world will ever stand by your side. Thinking of Ethan, I retorted with certainty, impossible. The confession from that day still feels vivid, as if he and I were the two closest souls in this world. Sophia's voice suddenly turned shrill. How is that impossible? If I needed him to, he'd even die for me. After all, I'm the female lead. Everyone in this world should revolve around me. Ethan is no exception. He'll only ever be under my control. We were taken to the docks. The night wind over the sea was fierce, leaving only the howling gusts and crashing waves in my ears. Suddenly my feet left the ground. I seemed to be hoisted up, and the blindfold was ripped away. I looked down, and was so frightened that I swayed in midair. Below was a 100-meter drop, the deep blue sea now resembling a gaping abyss waiting for my fall. The kidnapper leisurely spoke into the walkie-talkie. Mr. Reed, you can only choose one, your childhood sweetheart or your wife. In the distance, I saw Caleb standing opposite me, his face filled with terror. There was also Ethan, who had rushed over in a hurry. He was sweating profusely, looking extremely nervous. Caleb's trembling voice came through the walkie-talkie. I can give you any amount of money you want, just don't hurt my wife. So, you're choosing your wife. How, what about your childhood sweetheart? She sacrificed so much for you. Clearly the kidnapper was talking too much. This was definitely not something a normal kidnapper should be concerned about. Caleb's gaze toward me grew increasingly. I see. Oh, it seems you were hoping I'd choose someone else. 18 The sea breeze and my fear of heights and the deep sea made me shiver uncontrollably. I shook my head desperately in denial. Ethan was still watching me, and I didn't want him to misunderstand. But this was utterly impossible. Caleb's voice dripped with impatience. Let her be, as long as my wife is safe. You can throw her into the sea to feed the fish. Caleb's voice was firm, as if he already knew this whole thing was orchestrated by me. Before being rescued, Sophia threw me a contemptuous smile. Then she burst into tears and threw herself into Caleb's arms. Vivian, didn't he mean it either? Caleb, I believe she was framed too. Caleb didn't believe any of this at all, grabbing her hand and driving away. The ropes binding me were being cut strand by strand, yet all I could see was Ethan's final indifferent gaze. The next second I plunged into the sea, the light before my eyes faded bit by bit, the moon seeming to grow further and further away. I helplessly stretched out my hand, but grasped nothing at all. In the darkness, it seemed someone was swimming toward me. Only after violent compressions on my chest did I cough up a mouthful of water. Slowly I opened my eyes and sat up on the desolate empty beach. Only Ethan's cold yet drenched face remained. Seeing I regained consciousness, he turned to leave. I quickly grabbed his sleeve only to have it forcefully shaken off. Seeing this, I wanted to rush forward to him, but was seized by violent coughing. Perhaps unable to bear the sight, he turned back and crouched to pat my back. I thought he was just in a bad mood from having been soaked in water. Yet as soon as I recovered, he strode ahead without looking back. I couldn't help but confront him. Ethan, why are you ignoring me? His steps faltered, pausing for a full minute before he spoke, his voice unbearably hoarse. The reason should be obvious to you. It's not obvious at all. Tell me, what exactly should I be aware of? A bitter smile spread across his lips, as if he thought I wouldn't admit the truth until faced with undeniable evidence, and he slowly said, today when I came home from work, I found you and Grandma missing. Chloe called to tell me you'd arranged to meet Sophia tonight. Then you were kidnapped at the very docks you know best. Vivian, do you think I'm a fool? The last sentence was spoken so softly, as if it would vanish with the wind the next second. I wanted to explain, but couldn't utter a single word. My heart ached as if thousands of ants were gnawing at it. If Ethan had turned around, he would have seen my tear-streaked face. After what felt like an eternity, I finally heard myself say, how's Grandma doing? She's fine, no need for your concern. I don't know how I made it back home. Grandma was nowhere to be found, but she must have been properly taken care of by Ethan. I locked myself in my room in the pitch-black darkness. I hugged my knees and curled up in a corner. The comments were all urging me, Vivian, why can't you just speak up for once? If you just say it wasn't you, Ethan would believe you unconditionally. How could this be? Everything Sophia said was true. Ethan only listens to her, the female lead. Before I could even speak, he had already decided it was my fault. I closed my eyes in despair, my mind filled with Sophia's words, no one in this world will stand by your side. Tears silently flooded the entire room. I remained quiet for a long time until dawn broke outside the window. Morning light streamed through the curtains. I remembered how Ethan would secretly kiss me every morning at this hour while I slept. He thought I was asleep, but I wasn't. How could I not notice someone missing in such a small bed? But sadly, there would be no more mornings like this before he could formally ask for a divorce. I had to pack my things and leave. This was the last shred of dignity I could keep for myself. Before going, I sent him a message. The key is hidden under the doormat. This was the only chance I could think of to talk to him. For a long time, I kept hoping he would reply. But he never did. Being left on read felt like a death sentence for our marriage. 21 on the 25th day of our separation, I bought a train ticket heading south. The moment before departure, my phone unexpectedly rang. It was the only call I'd received during this entire period. I answered instinctively only to hear Sophia's triumphant voice on the other end. So how about it, Miss Vivian? Wasn't I right about everything? No matter what, there's not a single person in this world who would stand by your side. Such words had already seeped into my subconscious. I didn't need her to remind me. I closed my eyes briefly, speaking with a parched voice. What exactly do you want? Her voice carried traces of hysterical laughter. Of course, I want to watch your miserable downfall, abandoned by all your reputation in ruins. In 10 minutes, Ethan will hold a press conference, publicly announcing your crimes. Just imagine Vivian, the counterfeit socialite, who is already a fraud, now resorting to unscrupulous schemes to frame others. Even her lawful husband can't take it anymore, and is finally driven to publicly file for divorce. What a spectacular show. I simply can't wait. No way, absolutely impossible. Almost instinctively, I dialed Ethan's number. Even if you don't believe me, you shouldn't resort to such methods to pressure me. All I got from the other end of the line was a busy signal. The television screen displayed real-time updates of the unfolding scene. Dressed in a sharp suit yet looking utterly exhausted, Ethan stood before the microphone. Below him, the prominent headline read, Reed Group press conference. Don't bother. I hung up the phone, watching the live broadcast with cold eyes. My heart had long gone numb, yet I still wanted to hear what painful words he would say next. His lips pressed tightly together, his voice hoarse with weariness as he spoke. The reason I stand here today is to announce one thing. My wife, Miss Vivian Shaw. Out of jealousy and ignorance, she kidnapped the true mistress of the Reed family, though her scheme ultimately failed. Subtitles appeared on the screen before the words were spoken. My hand was already pressing the TV's power button, yet I still wanted to hear him say it himself. 22. Ethan frowned, his hand clenched into a fist, as if enduring endless torment before finally resolving to announce this shameful truth. She was framed, kidnapped 25 days ago, but her husband didn't trust her, forcing her to leave. The large screen behind him suddenly displayed footage. Ethan had gathered various pieces of evidence that could prove my innocence. I'm standing here today because I was coerced by Sophia Miller. I have the audio recording as proof. Vivian, if you're watching this, come home. The moment the words were spoken, the live broadcast was abruptly cut off. As if struck by a sudden thought, I dropped my luggage and turned to run in the direction of Ethan's house. When I opened the door, this was the scene that greeted me. Ethan, equally breathless, stood with reddened eyes and trembling lips. The moment our gazes met, a month's worth of pent-up grievances erupted within me. In the next second, he pulled me tightly into his embrace. Vivian, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. His voice trembled uncontrollably. A teardrop fell on my face. For some reason, seeing him made my tears flow uncontrollably again. I thought I'd cried myself dry, instinctively returning his embrace. I found myself at a loss for words. Ethan was crying so hard, he could barely catch his breath. Seeing him like this, I thought for a moment before speaking. You finally believe me, though. 1,000 words swirled in my mind. What escaped my lips was already broken beyond repair. Tears burst forth like a collapsing dam. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was useless, believing others' words so easily. I'm sorry you were hurt. It pains me deeply. Don't go, please. He pressed his head tightly against my shoulder with such force, as if terrified I might vanish the very next moment. Then you must believe in me for a lifetime, I said, gently using my fingers to wipe away the tears from his cheeks. His response was an even tighter embrace. A few days later, I received a message from a former colleague at my previous company. That disgusting fat pig of a boss got fired. Meanwhile, my bank account received a transfer from my former company. It's my severance pay from leaving the job. I'm quite surprised because in my impression, capitalists are all terrible people. I shifted my gaze to Ethan on the sofa. He coughed unnaturally, but the corners of his mouth kept curling upwards. It seems you've kept many secrets from me. I sat beside him, grabbed his tie, and forced him to look at me. It's just a small matter, not worth mentioning. He winked at me. Suddenly, I got the urge to tease him. Then be honest, who is your first love? And this, I took out the candy box from the drawer that I had thrown in the trash but retrieved. Do you recognize it? When the topic of first love came up, his ears turned an unnatural shade of red. Then he said with a straight face, she's a girl who is beautiful, excels academically, and has a gentle, kind personality. Even though I already knew the answer, I still wanted to hear him admit it with his own words. So, I pretended to be angry. It's you, young miss. As for this box, I only ever gave it to one little girl. When I was young, that girl was just like you, pretty prone to tears and bad-tempered. Ethan gazed at me tenderly, speaking each word deliberately. I was desperate to confront the male lead for an explanation, but couldn't even catch a glimpse of him. I looked at him earnestly. This was the answer I wanted to know most. Ethan sighed, then with one strong motion, lifted me onto his lap. Because I love you, Vivian. No one would joke about their own marriage. I married you because I love you, but you wouldn't listen to anything back then, so I had to deceive you with that lie. I'm sorry. Seeing you unhappy made me come up with such an idea. At that time, I thought I would leave you once you were doing well. But now I've changed my mind. I want to stay by your side, preferably for a lifetime. Is that okay? I didn't answer. Instead, I draped my arm over his shoulder and responded to the question with a kiss. Life is long, and I will spend the rest of my time answering you slowly. The end.